Well, it's time now for a look through the international papers, and for that I'm joined in the studio by Deeptika Laurent. Hi, Deepti.
Hi, Haxi.
You're starting today with that spectacular firing of Donald Trump's national security advisor, John Bolton.
That's right. It's kind of becoming a case of I'm not fired, I quit, or you don't quit, I'm firing you sort of situation here. John Bolton, we know, is leaving at his post as national security advisor after being relieved of those duties rather unceremoniously via Twitter, predictably by the U.S. President Donald Trump. The Irish, he's on the front page of The Independent there, the Irish Times, reporting that Bolton was hugely opposed to Donald Trump's now annulled decision to host the Taliban at Camp David for peace talks. Bolton was famously hawkish when it came to foreign policy, particularly in the Middle East.
And not a lot of people in the US press sad to see him go.
Not really. The title on the Slate article says it all, and we've seen that message in other papers as well. Good riddance, John Bolton. The writer hailing that once in a while, even Donald Trump makes a wise decision. Bolton was a terrible national security advisor, this writer says, one of the worst even, and one of the few who came to the job with a purely ideological agenda. In the end, for all his talk, Donald Trump isn't really that keen to go to war, and Bolton proved to be a poor fit with Donald Trump. Interesting article also from the New York Times, which notes that the irascible firebrand, I quote, Bolton, his greatest legacy perhaps is dismantling the National Security Council apparatus, an interagency structure that's really governed American foreign policy for several decades now, and, quote, kept Trump from running foreign policy by the seat of his pants.
The question now, of course, who's going to replace him?
And that's what many Washington officials are worried about, Haxi. Who will replace him? The Washington Post actually quotes one official as saying that at least John Bolton was sort of restraining Donald Trump. Now we're facing a, quote, unplugged president, and that is a concern for foreign policy. For cartoonist Jim Morin, it's the latest in a revolving door of hirings and firings. He sees Donald Trump as finally settling down with a staff of advisors that he can trust himself. And you see in the cartoon he's facing a whole bunch of mirrors of his own reflection there.
Moving on now to Iran, where you found a lot of reaction to the death of a female football player. This story seemingly revealing a lot about the state of women's rights in the country.
That's right. Not just the death, it's her suicide, in fact, Taxi. The headline of the New York Times article might read a little bit, exaggerated, but this is actually the truth. 29-year-old Sahar Khodarayari snuck into Tehran's main sporting venue to watch a men's football game. She was arrested and sentenced to 6 months in prison because in Iran, women can attend women's football matches, but they cannot attend men's football matches under the religious laws that were imposed after the 1979 revolution. After her sentencing, she set herself alight in front of the courthouse. She sadly died of her injuries this week.
And she has become something of a face of this attempt by women in Iran to win the right to go to both male and female football matches.
That's right. Their rights in general to attend sporting events. On social media, the hashtag #BlueGirl has been widely spread because Sahar was wearing her favorite team's colors, blue, when she was arrested. So you see this image that's been widely shared on social media. Her portrait also being shared on social media there. Outrage and disbelief really dominating a lot of the posts. This tweet, one user has even tweeted a message from an Iranian football player who's paid tribute to women supporters of football.
And a word from you now on a new development in the world of urban development, a new report showing the relative success of Barcelona's Superblock experiment.
That's right. So Superblocks are groups of streets where traffic is nearly eliminated and space previously used by cars is given to pedestrians, play areas and green areas, people getting around by bike or by walking. Barcelona, of course, is a city buckling under the pressure of congestion, overpopulation and pollution. They've been looking at ways to ease this, and so they've experimented by installing 6 superblocks. And a new report shows some pretty interesting figures that if Barcelona were to implement this at a citywide level, so all 503 superblocks, life expectancy would increase by 200 days. Air pollution will be cut by 25%, and around 667 premature deaths a year could be avoided. Figures that are just estimates for the moment, but do give us a a wider picture of the relative success of these Superblock experiments.
Impressive stuff. Well, Apple has released its iPhone 11. It's complete with 3 cameras, but the placing of the cameras has got the internet rather excited, amused.
Yeah, that's right. Mocking, even, you might say. Apple's new design definitely being sent up by a lot of social media users because it's got 3 cameras on the back. The placement of the cameras make it look like anything but an iPhone. It's been compared to fidget spinners, coconuts. Here you see a cooking stove. Perhaps in the future you might be able to cook on the back of your iPhone. It's not the case for the moment.
Tiny, tiny little meals.
Yeah, tiny, tiny little meals. It has been compared to an electric razor as well. With the 3-head razor. It does strangely look also like those eye testing machines that you look into when you go to the optometrist. Finally, one might speculate that these cameras have a far more sinister purpose, each one representing the FBI, the CIA, and Homeland Security, all the more to be able to spy on us at all times.
Well, in that case, hoping it's more of the hob than the spy on the device. Du Laurent with a look through the international papers. Thank you very much indeed. You can catch this press review and, of course, many others on our website, france24.com. Do take a look when you have a second.